Mayo Clinic is offering a brain and wellness program designed to help those living with mild cognitive impairment learn skills to help maintain independence. And for more on all this, we welcome Dr. Amit Shah. He's a geriatrician with Mayo Clinic, Arizona. Good to have you here. Good to see you.
Great to be here again.
Yeah, this is called HABIT. What is HABIT?
So HABIT is an acronym. It stands for Healthy Action to Benefit Independence and Thinking. It's a really neat program that we've had at Mayo Clinic for a number of years, evidence-based, to help people who are starting to experience some of those little cognitive changes that you might see with aging. Not dementia, but those early phases that it might be normal aging, it might be something that might get to be something worse. And it's an evidence-based program that just emphasizes a holistic approach to improving people's brain health.
And how exactly does it work?
So it's a course that you attend, kind of like going to a class. It's a 50-hour course spread out over 10 days, typically, when we do it. It includes things like wellness education, everything that's good for your body and your heart, for example, is good for your brain too, like healthy eating and all of that. Yoga, chair-based yoga, so everyone can do it. And then evidence-based cognitive training exercises, cognitive strengthening exercises. And then what do you do if? How do you manage when you're starting to forget things? And so individual kind of cognitive training exercises. And then a group support. So you attend the class with other people. And along with that, you don't do the class by yourself. You take someone with you, like a spouse or a loved one, a friend, et cetera.
Yeah, and that's important, having a partner there. It's got to be a big deal because that's important for them to learn those things as well.
That's right. And I have had many couples, for example, that have done the course together, and they've both really loved it, and found it to be useful to reinforce. If someone does start having more cognitive problems, they can say, hey, remember we learned this.
Yes.
But doing things together, we know we do better. Exercising together is much easier than if you do it by yourself.
Memory compensation training, what does that mean? Like, what, leaving your keys in the same spot all the time? What does that mean?
Yeah, a lot of times when I have patients who start worrying, they have those little moments where they might have forgotten where their keys are at. They might forget the name of somebody whose name they always know, and that really makes them worried, and they come and see me. Oh my gosh, am I going to have dementia? Am I going to get something like that? And so we teach people what's normal aging, what happens with normal aging with the brain, and how to kind of get around it. So for example, we're always not so good at multitasking. We always think we're good at that. Well, that gets a lot worse as we get older. And so learning how to focus on one task at a time, for example, is one example of memory compensation training. We have like planners or lists or things like that. And the program provides resources like that for people to use to make sure that those little things can be worked around and they can still maintain function, independence, and great quality of life.
And brain fitness would be what you kind of talked about earlier, just programs and things, tests and just games and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so there are lots of different things. There's some things that people used to think were really good, like doing crossword puzzles. Well, maybe doing a crossword puzzle is not as good as learning something new. Getting your brain to kind of work around more difficult problems or something where it really exercises your brain in different ways. So there's a number of things out there, and the program covers some of those that are most evidence-based so that you can learn to do them. And people find them to be enjoyable. More than 80+% of people who've done the program continue to do some aspects of the program years later.
So basically, instead of crossword puzzles or playing chess or something like this, learn how to play a musical instrument, learn a new language, that kind of thing. We've talked about this on this program, it kind of instigates certain things in the brain where it's like, whoa, that's a different thing.
That's right, yeah, and you used to say that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You've heard that line before.
Yes.
That's actually totally false, right? So we continue to be very generative into our 90s and 100s even, and we can learn new things. And that learning of new things, of sprouting new connections, are really important, including socially.
Yes.
So the social aspect of it. The last time you had me on, we talked about social isolation and its devastating effect on lots of parts of our health, including cognition. And this is the same. And so meeting new people, learning new things. When you go out there, you learn a new skill, a new task. It can be wonderful for people.
And it can help with resilience, and it can help with coping, which is part of maintaining a separate and independent life.
That's right, yeah. And a lot of that is taught in this course, and I teach my patients, you can look at one door that's shut, something that becomes too difficult, and really get very depressed. But then there's 10 other doors that are open, and can you learn how to do those things or focus on those things and say, you know what, maybe remembering to pay my bills is not such a great thing. I'll put on auto pay or something like that.
Well, and speaking of auto pay, is this kind of thing covered by insurance?
So it is. So components of it are. Some portions of it are not by some insurances, but it's still a very reasonable cost. Most of my patients who have done it have really found it to be extremely valuable. But Medicare and other insurances do cover portions of the cognitive training and other things of that nature. But maybe not other portions. But it's quite reasonable, quite affordable. And if patients are interested, they can just go to the Mayo Clinic website, just Google, Habit Arizona, and they will find, and Mayo Clinic, they'll find it.
All right, very good, Dr. Amit Shah, Mayo Clinic. It's Habit 10-day brain and wellness program.